this last week, my wife, she had this plan that she would take me, or we would go to McDonald's to get a cappuccino. And it started off okay, but when we got there, we were going through the drive-thru, and it's very cold here in Finland. And in this time of year, it can be this slate. It's this rainy snow, and it freezes your windows in your car. And I noticed that my window wouldn't open. So in that moment, I panicked. I felt anxious. I felt overwhelmed. So we drove up to the intercom, and since I couldn't open my window, I just cracked open my door. I was a little on edge with the whole window thing, and so I just quickly said, get 2 cappuccinos. And all of a sudden, right before he was going to tell me how much it cost, my wife said, no, only 1 cappuccino. And what that meant was that I was supposed to ask her what she wanted. And so I just said, okay, 1 cappuccino. And then I closed the door, and then I drove away. And obviously that was not a good decision, because guys, you are supposed to take note of what your wife wants and what she says. And so I was looking onto the app, what she could buy, but already at that point, I think I had kind of dropped the ball. I knew my wife was going to come back and that we were going to have a conversation. And my mind was racing. I thought, oh, how many other things are we going to have to talk about? If we talk about this, we're going to talk about other stuff. Normally, I get really worried about having these follow-up conversations. Sometimes I feel I got to be very defensive, and it's just a very anxious feeling that I often give into. But there was this little voice inside of me that I feel like I don't often spend time listening to. And it was just reassuring me that even though I felt anxious at the window, anxious now to have this conversation, it was all going to be okay. And there was nothing to worry about, and that I could just relax, and I could just listen to my wife when she came back, and that I was safe to just listen and almost view the situation as an outsider and not take things so personally. And so I took that little advice, and I just listened to my wife process, and she was a little bit frustrated about the situation, and other things popped up. And so the next day when my wife woke up in the morning, that's the first thing she said, was that when I listened to her, it felt like a therapy session for her. And what I'm encouraged by is that it's true how the scripture says that we overcome the flesh, we mortify the flesh by walking in the Spirit, and we walk in the Spirit by setting our mind upon the Spirit. And I believe that is the law of the Spirit of life. And it's encouraged me to just continue to listen to that still small voice, because some of us, like myself, we had some difficult upbringings with when our parents divorced, and my dad, he wasn't really a good example of what it means to be a father. But I am encouraged because I can see that the Father, he recognizes those, and he wants to teach them and lead them and guide them into all truth, because the truth will set us free. And so much of this talk about walking in the Spirit, and that there is no condemnation for those who are in Jesus Christ, this is not always a heaven or hell thing. This is how we walk in freedom, and so that we're not in bondage and we're not slaves to sin.